Alright, so we're getting into it between SleepyShaman and Zhangbo here. Let's look what they start off with. Going to be the Warlock from SleepyShaman. Looking at his hand with the Molten Giant, most likely going to be Reno Lock, and it's going to be facing off against the Aggro Shaman of Zhangbo. Right off the bat, just going with that aggressive deck here. We'll see which deck can take it. SleepyShaman not picking, or not, excuse me, keeping
Oh,
the Molten Giant, and definitely makes sense. The very last card that comes into his hand is that Reno Jackson. If you're wondering, sometimes it seems like it might be a good idea to keep Reno in your opening, excuse me, keep the Molten Giant in your opening hand, because you know that your opponent's going to be aggressive, and you can maybe get the Molten Giant out and have a swing turn. But basically, as long as you get things like Heal by, and more importantly, the Reno obviously in your hand, you basically win the game right now. You don't really need the Molten to, yeah, to secure the victory, essentially.
yes, that's definitely true. And Flame Town Totem in in this deck as well, which is not a Tiger.
He ripped it out of his hand right there, just flew it onto the board. And let's see what Sleepy Shaman decides to go with here. One thing to keep in mind is that he might want to hold on to the coin to be able to Hellfire plus coin a Moral Coil the following turn. Or he could maybe hold on to the coin to get out Reno Jackson on turn 5, because we've actually seen situations before where players have coined a minion out earlier or coined some sort of spell, and they've lost in turn 5 with Reno in hand, which is very sad indeed. So just gonna go for the Dark Bomb plus Mortal Coil, which definitely makes sense. You're not gonna have too much stuff more healthy than that Totem Golem, so you might as well get rid of it now. And Knife Juggler commit to the board here, which means this board will get cleared off by the Hellfire. And now Sleepy Shaman in a pretty decent spot.
Present spot indeed, and Jumbo didn't get that Doom Hammer. Suppose he's rather disappointed, but he could go for that Doom Hammer. Uh, Rock Biter, and he doesn't know there isn't any weapon destruction in Swedish Shaman hand, so he's actually could be happy in a way. Oh,
Was he trying to concede because of Reno? I do like this play by Sleepy Shaman, by the way, just clearing some of the board. He could have potentially died. He wouldn't have died to Doomhammer Rockbiter, but maybe could have died to something like Lava Burst Double Crackle or something. So it definitely makes sense. Oh, as it hits for 5. So how much damage do we have here? But another 6. So actually, there could have been lethal right there. It would have been a 1 in 16 chance, but there actually could have been lethal if it was spell damage totem rolled, and on top of that, the the high roll on the crackle. So Sleepy Shaman dodging the bullet in a way, but not really, I suppose. And just gonna be fighting back here. Lava Burst is picked up. No spell damage totem this time, and definitely an uphill battle. Though, if there's a Doomhammer picked up, it's an automatic 16 damage, but, with all of the healing that Sleepy Shaman still has in the deck, I feel like this game is close to being over.
yeah, and Super Shaman also has that Jiraxus, which is kind of heal if you goes really low. I like to kill the totem there, just lower your opponent chances to roll. Oh,
Wow.
that
Doomhammer is pretty huge here. I wonder if he commits the Rock Biter right now.
I think you do.
The thing is, if you commit to Rock Biter, your opponent could play Jiraxis, and you just saw, obviously, this Thorson hitting the field.
I think you can play one, yes, like this, and
Alright, yeah.
just roll more totems.
Wow. So, another 10 damage plus, the lava burst in hand. If there's something like a lightning bolt and, no way to protect himself from Sleepy Shaman, this could actually even go uh, to Zhangbo through the fatigue, or through the Reno Jackson. Soulfire comes in the hand. Is there a way to win the game right now with this? Just gonna go with the Moral
Uh,
Coil.
you could get a 3 fox here. No, that's not the boom.
Wow. So there actually is a way for Zhangbo to potentially win the game right here. This is absolutely ridiculous. It's going to take either a Crackle or a Lightning Bolt, I believe. But yeah, there's actually a chance here. There's nothing for Sleepy Shaman to do. He can put one more minion on the board and have Jiraxis the following turn and still have room. But really, unfortunately, wasn't able to pick up anything here. And again,
Yeah,
sorry for the connection issues. This can happen from time to time. But is there a lightning bolt or a crackle picked up to here? We will see. It is a lightning bolt, and that is going to be game to Zhangbo. Incredibly, through the Reno Jackson is able to take it. This is pretty insane. Wow.
that's the power of aggro shaman there. But I think Vinalog doesn't have to be too frustrated, and these things can happen, and you just get a win next. Actually, depends on what Jumbo has next about what deck types he has. He can have Patron Warriors, and if Patron Warrior and just get shut up by the decks from SleepyShaman, which are very effective of getting rid of the board in general.
Exactly. The one weakness, however, could be that Druid in Sleepy Shaman's lineup that could fall potentially to what looks like is going to be the Zoolock and Patron Warrior if we do see Zhangbo going for the same strategy as he did in the group stages. So in that regard, I think Druid has the best chance, honestly, against the Shaman. Maybe the Shaman and the Patron Warrior are similar chances. But yeah, that could be a big victory for Zhangbo in that sense, considering that it could shut down the Druid of Sleepy Shaman later. Pretty crazy though, just going through that. I mean, if there was a Sun Fury picked up, if there, I guess Sun Fury wouldn't help. Well, actually it would, because you can't Earthshock two things. So Sun Fury pickup, a Defender of Argus pickup, a Refreshment Vendor pickup, a Healbot pickup, a Earthring Farseer pickup. That would have just ended the game right there. But unfortunately for Sleepy Shaman's sake, nothing could happen, and then the lightning bolt there. Going to be the Reno once again going against what looks like the Grim Patron Warrior. And again, this is a good matchup for Sleepy Shaman. I think it's actually a better lineup, or a better matchup, excuse me, than it is against Shaman, because if you don't get the healing early on against the Shaman, you can basically just fall flat. Whereas the game goes a bit longer here, and as long as you're able to neutralize all the threats from the Patron Warrior, you should be fine.
Yeah, and I think actually Sleepy Shaman had a play, which is he played the Shredder, and he soul fired the Shredder to get some Vitality Totem or Taunt.
Right.
But
I mean, the
Taunt,
thing is,
Taunt doesn't.
we saw that there was. I mean, we saw in the opponent's hand that he already had Rockbiter, he already had Lava Burst. So if Sleepy Shaman saw that, maybe he would have done that. But it's more likely at that point that you discard Jiraxis, then your opponent has exactly that hand and picks up a top deck for lethal. So I definitely can agree with going with the way that Sleepy Shaman did it.
Yeah, that's definitely true there. And actually, Taunt wouldn't have worked because there's a Earthshock
Right.
Jumbo's hand as well.
So at that point, you're going in for 1 in 80, which is not the greatest. But let's see what Sleepy Shaman does go for here. He could go for coin into Lothab or coin into Stalag. However, both of those minions just die on the board, which is not really what you want. Obviously, you can't really commit to the Hellfire here because you need that for the patrons later. This is one of the issues with Reno Luck sometimes, though, going against the Grim Patron, is because you have to save your AoE for those patrons. So sometimes you can get a little trouble.
Starlight is actually good in this case. That Jumbo doesn't have execute. That he has to use his face and tanking 7 damage.
I mean, to be fair, the Reno Lock is going to be playing mostly defensively, so you're fine kind of taking damage here. Actually goes with the Mage Hero Power. Wants that direct damage as Zhangbo. It doesn't really want to be, just drawing deeper into his deck. And wow, Hellfire is committed to here, which is really interesting. I guess because he has the Shadow Flame for future turns as well, he can be fine.
Definitely, Major Hero Power is one of the hero powers that you look for as a patron warrior. That you can just make the patrons with your hero power instead of your cards. Which...
Right. Yeah, it makes it pretty easy, right? You only need one more activator, like a Whirlwind, to just make 4 patrons. And let's see what Sleepy Shaman does go for here. He can play this Lothab to kind of shut down, or basically, dominate this Sludge Belcher. However, there can be a kill on it just with the Fire War Axe.
Definitely true, but he wants to draw a card first, which is the
Right. I mean, doesn't really need to put the Dread Corsair on the board right now. Definitely makes sense to go for this. And Zhangbo is putting a lot of pressure on the Sleepy Shaman right now.
yeah, but judging from the hand of Swisham, I think he can cope still.
Well, if there's an Inner pickup right now, then the game could be over.
Like oh,
Wow.
it's
So Demon rolls for 4, sometimes lucky. If it rolled for 2, it would have been an absolute disaster there for Sleepy Shaman, but he's able to get it. There's a Whirlwind pickup, which means that there can be a patron board spawn. Zhangbo reconsiders it, obviously, because, he might be able to use Whirlwind with his Grom the following turn, but he can always use Grom plus ping on his Grom on turn 10, which is another obvious, advantage to having that ping. But just going to commit some stuff to the board and not going to go for that patron play.
Jumbo could get the next turn lethal here. Yeah,
Right.
that's the play.
Right, so Zhangbo going for a very aggressive line, and obviously 10 damage coming out from the Grom potentially the following turn, which means that Sleepy Shaman needs to clear everything and block his opponent's stuff. Or block his
I think he
opponent's
can.
weapon. So yeah, he can go for what looks like... He can go for an Ooze plus Shadow Flame, but the problem is he doesn't have enough mana afterward to go for the Molten Giant. So maybe you just heal up and play the Molten Giant later.
Yeah, I guess you can either heal or just take this fairy works away, which will
All
work
right,
in.
there's no heal actually if you go for this if you go for the Ooze plus Shadow Flame. But he is able to clear most of this board, realizing what Zhangbo was going for with that aggressive line earlier. And now what do you do if you're Zhangbo?
You pin your opponent to death.
One at a time, right? You could just you can just go for this. I'm actually wait, oops. So Zhangbo playing too quickly. It looks like. Oh, okay. It looks like he just wanted to kill the Dark Peddler. But yeah, what are we gonna see here? We could just see Twisting Nether on this board, honestly, and then follow up by the Void Walker. I think I would just go for this, but you can't really deal with this board right now. You might as well just cut it off when you can, especially because your opponent only has 2 cards in hand, and if it's a battle rage, then you're cutting off a card draw as well. Slam comes in
Yeah,
hand. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say that you feel pretty safe with that Brian Healbot next turn. So
Yeah. Well, do you go for that? Because then you're preventing yourself from playing Molten Giant. So he might just go for Bran and Earthen Ring first here.
which is reasonable as well. So I guess you can, but uh, you heal up yourself for 6.
Which
Will
you go to
bring you
19, which is out of Grom plus Inner Rage. Right? Because you're 12. So it looks like he is going to actually not go for the Molten and just heal up as much as he possibly can. Gonna go up to 27, which is completely out of range. I definitely can see going for this, right? Because now you're able to tap. You don't have to be too scared of things going forward. You have that Sylvanas to contest your opponent's board, and you need answers, right? If this Grom sticks on the field for too long, you're kind of in trouble.
yeah, and Sylvanas would probably take this off, and Earthring Fossil can heal you further up, so you're not too worried about dying to this, even to this ground, which is only worse in Patron Warrior decks nowadays.
Right. So, do you go for the Dark Bomb here, or do you... I mean, you could take a lot of damage if you don't go for the Dark Bomb here, but it looks like it's going to be the in-game boss. Definitely makes sense.
I would personally go for the Earthring Fossil, just make sure there isn't any crazy lethal, but
There's no way... I mean, there's 15 damage on board, but there's no way to do, an additional 11 without Grom in hand. Even if there's some sort of rag for some reason... Yeah, this is Sleepy Shaman understanding what's in the patron deck, so I definitely can see not, panicking going for the Earthring Farseer, going for the more sticky minion in that King boss. So if you're Zhangbo here, what do you do? This is obviously really annoying to have this Sylvanas on the board. If you push everything to face, you could just be guaranteeing that the Sylvanas steals your Grom, which is obviously an issue. Also, you
I think
know that there's a Reno left in the deck, so this is kind of problematic.
you can't see and you don't show your opponent more cards.
Well, I'm pretty sure your opponent knows that you're running Whirlwind and Execute and Frothing Berserker, so I don't think it's too big a deal. But anyway, it's going to be what looks like. You can actually just kill this Grom right now, but it uses either Execute or Whirlwind. Gonna go with the Whirlwind. Puts his Frothing Berserker up to a 6/3, which can be killed by Dark Bomb, unfortunately. And I think this is the beginning of the end for Zhangbo.
Definitely, that's very dire for Jumbo. I mean, you can see your opponent doesn't know you have some special tag cards. You may be trying to tell your opponent that you have special tag cards that you don't
Oh, the
want to
mind games.
show.
Oh, I have this crazy
Yeah,
tech card that I don't want to show you. Here comes Battle Rage. Unfortunately, no minions on the board to help out with that. And Armor Smith's not going to help at all. You don't really know what to ping here either, because pinging... I mean, if it takes 3 pings to kill one of these minions... Okay, it looks like he's going to go for the Armor Smith, and just, he can maybe kill off this Shredder the following turn if it gets the value trade on the Armor Smith. And yeah, this game is just going to keep going on and on until Zhangbo concedes, I suppose.
yeah. 4-3.
Because on Mystic Twilight Drake, feels bad, man. 9 cards
That's bad.
left for both players. Sludge Belcher is reasonable. It's not the greatest. It will stop most of this board. Cobalt Geomancer can be a thing, but we've seen already Implosion, we've seen Dark Bomb, so most likely won't make a difference here. Fugan comes in the hand, which is another nice big minion. I think you commit the Zombie Chow as well. You might as well, right? Because as long as you survive, you're fine.
Yeah, and you would probably do more damage than 5, so you're definitely fine with playing this zombie jump.
Yeah, I mean,
And that
basically, the only way you die from here on out, because there's no Grom, your opponent's not going to burst you to death, right? The only way you win this game is if your opponent somehow gets a board that you can't deal with, and Zombie Chow can usually, help deal with the board. So it definitely makes sense to go for that. In any case, while we were talking, the game ended. Zhangbo did concede after seeing that Thaddeus, and we are tied 1-1 in this best-of-5 series.
Yes, and we see now crazy tag cards in that Patron Warrior, at least as we see it. Definitely Jumbo knows what's in his head. And well, he is really passionate about that. Probably, why didn't I get that good hand when I play Reno Log?
Well, I mean, he just lost to a Shaman with Reno in his hand who managed to get Doomhammer plus double Rock Fighter, so I don't think YLD should really be complaining there. I mean, if I were SleepyShaman, I think I would prefer that the patron was still up, or the patron was dead, essentially cleared, and he had the Shaman to play against with his Druid, because Druid will have a tough time against the Patron Warrior. There's still a chance here for SleepyShaman. Obviously, he did win that game, but the biggest question, the elephant in the room, is can he clear his Druid?
I mean, yeah, and Patron Warrior is somewhat favored against it, but as we just saw some hours ago in the college league, despite the players are on a different level.
They are definitely different level from there. Yeah, in the college league, I mean, Arm's Length wasn't able to really put up a fight, and I think it had as much to do with the draws as it did with his own ability. SleepyShaman and Zhangbo obviously are on a different level, I would say, and we'll see how they show their particular levels to get out of this round. They definitely want to make it to that round of 4. Obviously, the prize pools jump dramatically every single level, or every single round. So definitely going to be looking to advance here. Again, it's going to be the patron for Zhangbo. We're assuming it's going to be Zulok because that would match the lineup that he ran in the group stages. As far as SleepyShaman is concerned, we're assuming that is going to be mid-range Druid. The Paladin, we're not quite sure. It could be a Murloc Paladin. We saw him bring Warlock Paladin to the group stages, so we're not totally sure, but it could be anything. Also, Secret Paladin is pretty good against Aggro Shaman, so that could also be a possibility. For Sleepy Shaman's sake, he probably hopes that he has. Well, if it's Secret Paladin, it does well against the Zoo. But if it's Murloc Paladin, it does better against the Patron Warrior. So this is probably why we're taking so long between games, because I think Zhangbo is really trying to figure out what kind of Paladin this could be. Whereas on the side of Sleepy Shaman, he might have some considerations about whether or not this Warlock is indeed Zoo.
Yeah, and one thing to look for is that actually the games from round of eight on is kind of like group stage that you can change your decks. So you can change your decks within the group stage. So definitely reasonable for both players just to basically revert to the strategy that they were so successful in the group stage.
Right, because
And
in the group stages, you're trying to defeat multiple people, whereas in the round of 16, you're just trying to counter basically one person. So it definitely makes sense to go back to the strategy which you utilized to defeat many people. All right, we are going to be getting into game number 3. It's going to be what looks like a Murloc Paladin from Sleepy Shaman and the Zoo from Zhangbo with that big Game Hunter teched in.
yeah, very unfortunately that BGH won't be much of a use
Hey, you can take out
because
you can take out old Merc guy.
but by the time that he did that, he's probably already dead.
I got the beast. Oh. Anyway, so yeah, this is going to be an interesting matchup. What is going to come down to is, oh wow, Handsome Meccano. I think we saw this in the group stages from Zhangbo as well. But a very interesting card. That's actually probably a pretty good card in this matchup. If you can get some things to stick on the board, you can get those Wind Furies in and really help yourself out. For Sleepy Shaman's sake, again, he just wants to clear the board as much as possible and make sure to keep as much damage from his face as possible so he can just survive. Basically, the name of the game for Sleepy Shaman is surviving, and later in the game, he can actually just use anyfin as removal, and perhaps his second anyfin to kill his opponent. But yeah, just try not to die right here. And interestingly enough, he plays out the Wild Pyromancer just on the board, doesn't wait for anything like Equality. Obviously, Equality has many uses. You can use it with Consecrate later on. So I do like just getting on the board, not falling too far behind.
And there's a combo of Pyromancer into Master of Battle that everybody's dreaming of.
Ooh, does he commit to the Acolyte of Pain? That would be pretty interesting here. Does go for it, which means that either Zhangbo has to commit extra damage to this Imp King boss to killing out the Acolyte, or he can just kill out this Pyromancer potentially.
Yeah, I really like that play because you play an Acolyte, then your opponent has to choose to just make you draw one card from the Acolyte or kill the Pyromancer, which has very high attack value there. So good choice by Sweet Shaman. And then
Ooze comes into the hand, which is obviously a tech against Aggro Shaman. Unfortunately, not going to be too useful here. And looks like he's just going to give his Pyromancer. I mean, even though it's not the greatest trade, you're giving your opponent another 1/1. It's kind of okay considering that you've already killed off the Voidwalker, which was your opponent's turn 1 play. So that's kind of reasonable. So yeah, this Murkai hits the field. And Sleepy Shaman's really going to have to make sure he clears the board pretty soon because this Enhanced Meccano can do tons of work.
yeah, and the Blaster Corsair is an interesting choice that from Zhangbo that he's probably thinking about that True Silver is not actually in the hand of Sleepy Shaman there.
Right. I mean, it makes sense a little bit, right? Because, I mean, what else could you possibly pick in this situation? So it's going to go for that. Actually, going to be the War Leader plus the Ooze. I'm a bit surprised here that he didn't save that War Leader. But, yeah, now going to be the Sea Giant hitting the field. Not going to go for the Enhanced Meccano. Rather, favoring that huge minion on the board. And this is very difficult for Sleepy Shaman to deal with right now.
He can pick up a Consecrate and deal with that in 2 turns. He has a lot of healing in his deck apparently, which is, isn't that worrying of dying anytime soon, even though the enhancement color can be a problem if he gets Wind Fury. But yeah, Sleep Shaman can kill off basically the other 2 minions that are not too sticky.
Do you think he plays a Doomsayer here just to heal for 7?
You can, because uh, there isn't any good chance to play it in the future, I think.
Right.
So
Yeah, I think you have to kind of heal for a 7 right here. You're in a bit of trouble. This muster is reasonable because Zoo has a hard time dealing with, 3 minions on board, but at the same time, this Sage Giant is probably just going to hit your face. So power overwhelming is 9.5% chance. I'm not sure what I guess they're saying that he could have lethal if it's this roll Wind Fury. And Wind Fury onto the Haunted Creeper, but not on the Sea Giant. However, Taunt isn't the worst here. It means that you really have to go through this, but there was kind of a pseudo taunt anyway, I suppose.
yeah, I mean, this is the highest priority. Could get past that.
You had to face sync it though, unfortunately. So this will turn into a 4-2 once more, and you can throw everything into it and take 9 damage. However, it will buff up the Enhancer Mechano, which is now a lot, so that's actually just game.
That's game.
And Zhangbo takes game number 3 with his Zoolock, his interestingly teched Zoolock with the Sea Giant and Enhancer Mechano, and you can see SleepyShaman is not going too well for him right now. His Water Ball is almost done. That's the source of his power shrink.
Yeah, and that's rather symbolic for this series.
He's running out of water. Oh no. Someone get him some water. Anyways, Zhangbo is down to his Patron Warrior. He's going against the Paladin and the Druid. So SleepyShaman still has a chance to come back. The Murloc Paladin has a good matchup against the Patron Warrior. The Druid, on the other hand, has an unfavored matchup, but it's not completely hopeless. And so we'll see if SleepyShaman can complete the comeback, or will Zhangbo continue his Cinderella ride to the round of 4 of the Gold Series Grand Finals.
Yeah, I mean, this year's Gold Series actually is filled with a lot of established players than last year's. So we have last year's SleepyShaman and Lovely Shuriken and others who are really came out of nowhere. But this year they have much established, and the players they compete with are much more established as well. So I think this is real kind of unique of Zhangbo in this tournament. But Patron Warrior can go wrong in this matter.
It can go wrong indeed if things don't pull right for it, but these aren't completely unfavored matchups. Murloc Paladin can be difficult, but considering the matchup of Patron Warrior against things like Reno Lock, for instance, that can feel like it's unwinnable. Whereas this matchup, if you can just get very, very aggressive, maybe you can pull out the win.
But the card in SleepyShaman's hands is really...
Wow, this is really funny. So, Zhangbo not hero powering on 2, and then SleepyShaman countering with not hero powering on 3, realizing that an Acolyte of Pain could come out and he doesn't have a weapon in hand. This is some crazy mind games by both of these players.
Yeah, now Zhangbo has a choice. He can draw some cards with the Whirlwind, but he can play second. Yeah, he can play second Acolyte, but he won't be able to draw that execute.
Yeah, Zhangbo playing around Battle Rage from the Paladin side by not attacking there. And yeah, going to be just a hero power coming out of SleepyShaman here. Unfortunately for him, it's the second Acolyte of Pain, which can be pretty annoying. But in this particular case, there is a possibility for going with the blue Gale Arcane Golem Warrior to kill out this Acolyte of Pain nice and easy. And does he
Nice.
attack the face is the question. He might as well do so because, as we can see in the hand, there is a Fiery War Axe, which can just proc that Battle Rage as well. Probably going to be the case. Just going to kill this guy nice and easy. And probably take out the Murloc, I think. Oh, he could go for this Dread Corsair and Whirlwind and Battle Rage, I suppose. I'm going to go with it with the Surf and the Murgleton. What kind of hero power does he want here? Probably Mage again. Druid is meh. So yeah, just gonna go with the Warlock, it seems like. Which is kind of funny because now he's committing to the Battle Rage, but he has a hero power that draws him cards anyway.
Yeah, I think you can go with the totems in other matchups, but you totem just get clear and you don't really want something like a spell power, which can ruin your turn sometimes.
Right.
So
SleepyShaman actually committing to this ooze, which is a bit surprising to me. Sometimes
it can be a bluff. It can just be a bluff.
Right. I mean, you kind of want to get rid of that Despite later on, right? So this definitely makes sense. I suppose, you know what it could be? He wants this Doomsayer to survive. And if you get rid of the Fire War Axe, it makes it much easier.
Well, I mean, there's not so much urgency to do that because he has Pyromancer into uh, equality, and he has uh, other solutions as well. So,
Well, and speaking of which, we see Zhangbo really committing to the board right now. It makes sense because you have to get aggressive at some point, but this is going to be completely wiped out by Pyro Equality. Well, do you have to? I guess you kind of have to, right? You're a bit afraid of patrons, but if this board gets any stronger, you might just die to Whirlwinds, essentially.
yeah, can you play coin to layer hands? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You can actually that'll be a play, reasonable play. You just
Sorry, that was really adorable when you when you counted all those cards. Anyway, so yes, he could go for a coin lay on hands. He's at 8 right now. He'd go down to 6, and then he'd go back up to 9, which means he wouldn't overdraw even the following turn. But yeah, definitely a difficult situation here for SleepyShaman. If you commit to the power quality, your opponent can simply play Patience the following turn. That can be very difficult as well. But yeah, just gonna go for that. And likely hero power, I presume. He could go for a Temple Aldor, but probably not.
although it's very valuable in this matchup. You might run into a situation where you can deal with the Grom or you can deal with the Dr. Boom, as we see both players are into the Twisted Nether created by the organizers, and they're back now.
Sure. Anyway, what do you think about this play by Zhangbo by using the Despite rather than going for a patron right now? You just saw Power Equality. Maybe you do it before your opponent's able to draw any more cards here, which could happen.
Which could definitely happen, but
Alright, so just going to be getting rid of this Despite is SleepyShaman. Going to commit more stuff to the board so that he can potentially deal with something like, Grim Patron. Grom comes to the hand of Zhangbo. And just going to be committing more to the board. I think what Zhangbo's trying to do here is bait out removal onto this sort of board, and then he can play patrons afterward. You saw him, he was about to use that Whirlwind, but wanted to save it for his patrons potentially. And looks like we're just going to see anything can happen. Certainly Murgleton is something.
It's something that you play for your opponent.
The interesting thing about this is that Patron doesn't run Brawl. We just saw a fist pump by Zhangbo, by the way. Does he think he's won? Has he won?
I think he's very happy to see that Stephanie Mergerden.
Well, he might have won actually because look at this. The if he throws everything into this um, such welter, this Farthing Berserker is going to go up to now an 8, and then he has Grom Whirlwind, which will get even bigger because of these minions on board, and it looks like
Oh,
Zhangbo has actually done it. He has taken this match, and that is going to be Zhangbo moving on to the roundup for the semifinals. Pretty big upset here over Sleepy Shaman, one of the best players in China. Sleepy Shaman going to go home, unfortunately, in the round of 8. What an upset here.
and I think it's